So if you remember it, the bone is a type of connective tissue, supporting connective tissue, and all connective tissues have three components. One is the cell, and the other one is the matrix. And matrix is made of the different fibers and ground substance. So here the matrix of the bone, so we will not talk about the cells for now. The matrix of the bone has two parts. One is the inorganic part, and the second part is the organic part. So what does it mean? Inorganic means this minerals. So different calcium salts are making about 2/3 of the bone matrix, and this is the calcium salts is the one that is responsible for bones to be very strong. The most important calcium salts are calcium phosphates, and they usually combine with calcium hydroxide, and they make this crystal, and these are called hydroxyapatite. So bone apatite. They also have some other minerals that are there, like sodium, potassium, bicarbonate, magnesium, manganese, and fluoride, iron. So there are some other ones also there. And then is the organic one. So organic one is also called osteoid. Organic is called osteoid. So when we're talking about organic in general, so it means that they are made of either carbohydrate, lipids, or proteins. Okay, but here in the bones, we are not discussing about the lipids that much. These organic compounds are either proteins or carbohydrate, or a mix of protein and carbohydrate. The most important one is the collagen fibers that are made of proteins. And if you remember it from chapter 4, collagen fibers are flexible, but they are very strong, and they resist direction in one. They resist forces in one direction, so they are not stretchable. They are not stretchable. Okay. Here, if you can see, the bones are made of different layers. Different layers. Looks like a wedding cake or birthday cake probably. So these are different layers, and in each layer you can see these collagen fibers are in a specific direction. They run parallel to each other in each layer. But when you go to the next layer, then they are still parallel to each other, but they are running in a different direction. And when you go to the different layer, then it's a different direction. So in each layer, they resist forces in one specific direction, but because there are multiple layers, so the bone resisting forces from multiple directions. The second type of organic matrix is called glycosaminoglycan and proteoglycans. Glycosaminoglycan is carbohydrate, and proteoglycan is a mix of carbohydrate and protein, and they absorb water. So that absorption is preventing compression of the bone. For example, you stand, there's a lot of weight, but your bones in your legs will not shorten because it resists compression. Or the bones and vertebrae will not compress because of the water that is inside. The last one is called glycoprotein, and that's a mix of carbohydrate and protein together. And then this one is connecting the calcium salts with these other organic compounds, with collagen and proteoglycans. So this is combining the two together. So the third component of the bone tissue is the bone cells. Okay, and there's 4 different types of bone cells. The first one, this is called osteogenic cells, or osteoprogenitor cells. These are similar to stem cells, and they make these osteoblasts. Osteoblasts are young cells, and the function of the osteoblast is to make the organic bone matrix. Organic bone matrix. Okay, so this is the organic bone matrix that is secreted. Once this is secreted, then they become calcified, so they become harder. Okay, once they become harder, they trap these osteoblasts and they become osteocyte. Okay, once they are trapped and the bone matrix is calcified, it becomes osteocyte. So osteocyte is a mature bone. The function of osteocyte is to maintain the bone. Osteoblast function is to make osteoid or bone matrix. Osteocyte is to maintain the bone. So how these cells get their nutrients? They make it through this. Okay, these small canals, these are called canaliculi. You see that they are surrounding the osteocytes, and nutrients through the blood vessels that are in either in the periosteum or inside the bone. These blood vessels are also run in the bone. Also, these nutrients go through these small canaliculi and they reach these osteocytes. And the waste products are also released from these osteocytes to these canaliculi, and then they go back to the blood. So it's an indirect way of getting nutrients. The last one is called Osteoclast. So this is a very big cell. You can they have like 21 nuclei, so multinuclear cell, and they work the same as like a macrophage. They produce enzymes and acids, and that enzyme and acid that breaks the bone, release calcium, phosphate, and other calcium salts, and that goes to the blood, and especially the calcium is important. That goes back to the blood, and that has a lot of different functions, and I will come back to that later. Now the structure of a compact bone. Okay, so before looking at all these things, look at this one. This is a long bone, and this is the compact area. If you remember it, I talked about it a few minutes ago. This is the diaphysis of the compact bone. So this is the thick area of the shaft of the bone. So it's in the periphery. And in the middle, there is a cavity here, and this is the cavity that looks here, and that has a spongy bone here. So this in the periphery that you see, this area is this area. Okay. So this is the long bone, and from here to here, this is called the long axis of the bone. Long axis of the bone. So now look at this area. So the bones are made of different layers. These layers are called lamella. So lamellae is the plural form, lamella is the singular form. The bones, the compact bones, are made of different layers. Okay. So there's 3 different types of layers that are making the compact bones. So this is one. This is called concentric. Concentric. Okay. And in the middle there is a cavity or a canal there, and that is called the central or Haversian canal inside. What is the content of central canal? Blood vessels and nerves, and also lymphatics are there too, but not much. So there's blood vessels and nerves. And the osteon is what? The osteon is concentric lamellae and central canal together. So those 2 together, that makes the osteon. So this is one type of lamellae. The second type of lamellae is these ones. This one wraps around the whole bone like this. Wraps around the whole bone. These are called circumferential lamellae. Circumferential lamellae. So this one. There also should be around here, but it's not shown in this image. It should be, some of them should be around here also. That's not there. The third one is called interstitial lamellae. So this is the spelling, interstitial. These are between the concentric lamellae, and these are the old concentric lamellae. So these are the newer ones, and these are the old ones. So in between the newer concentric lamellae, this is the interstitial lamellae. Okay. If I go back to the osteon, so you can also see this is central canal here. So this is central canal. This runs in the parallel to the longitudinal axis of the bone. This was the longitudinal axis, and these central canals also run parallel to that. There is another canal that is called the perforating or Volksmann canal. They are connecting the central canals here and also connecting central canals with the medullary cavity. And you can see that there is blood vessels and nerves are inside central canals and perforating canals. There is another issue here, and you can see it here. This is the periosteum. So periosteum is made of two different layers, and I will come back to that. And here the image that you can see, that's the reason I'm showing it to you, because you cannot see this in the other picture. These are some fibers, and these are called Sharpie's fiber or perforating fibers, and they are connecting the periosteum to the rest of the bone. Okay. This image, I start with this image. These are the osteocytes. Osteocytes, these are the canaliculi. These lines that you see, these are the canaliculi. So they are connected to each other. And this one that you see, this is one here, and this is another one. These are lamellae. Each one is a lamella, so the whole thing is lamellae. So this is a concentric lamellae like this. And here is the central canal. They contains blood vessels and a nerve. And here inside, this is another type of tissue, and this is called endosteum. Endosteum. This is periosteum, and this is endosteum. Okay. And if you look at this image, again, same idea there. This is the concentric lamellae, and these are the osteocytes. Osteocytes, central canal here, and these are the content of the central canal. Looking at this one, these dark areas that you see, these are the osteocytes. These small lines that you see like this, these are the canaliculi, and this is like a concentric lamellae like this. Concentric lamellae. And here in the middle, this is the central canal, and that's the content of the central canal. So what is a lacuna? Lacuna is actually a cavity that the osteocytes are located there. Okay, a cavity that osteocytes are located there. So the second type of the bone, the spongy bone, if I come to this image and I explain this image again, they are made of different layers. Okay, different layers. These are lamellae, different lamellae. So concentric lamellae. These are made of the osteocytes. You see the osteocytes? And these lines that you see, these are the canaliculi. Okay, these canaliculi open up here, and these are the dots that you see. These are the opening of these canaliculi. The only difference here is that there's no central canal here. These trabeculae, which means the network, is covered by a type of tissue, and this is called endosteum. Endosteum. So this whole thing is here, this one. If you cut one of these, it looks like this. So multiple layers of bones, concentric lamellae, made of osteocytes, and is covered by endosteum. So it's like a branches of trees, so it's going all over everywhere. But here in the middle, there is a cavities, there's opening here in the middle, and that is covered by something. So what is it covered? It's covered by a red bone marrow, and red bone marrow is the one that makes the red blood cells and other cells in the blood, and contains also blood vessels that carry those blood cells back to the blood. And as you age, some of these areas are filled with fat, and that becomes a yellow bone marrow. So at the younger age, most of the bones have red bone marrow. As you get older, it changes. Some of them will remain uh, like flat bones remain, and it will contain red bone marrow, but long bones will change, and it will contain fat. And the location of the spongy bones, as I said before, it can be in epiphysis or it can be in the medullary cavity.